So in this review, we're going to go over everything you need to know about the Chromebook and we're going to decide whether it's worth it for you guys. I want to explain to you what a Chromebook is, how Chrome OS works on a laptop, and what makes it different. How does it compare to a conventional Windows laptop? Should you get a Windows laptop or should you get a Chromebook? And we'll also go in depth and we'll review one of the more affordable Acer Chromebooks, the Acer Chromebook R11, and we'll go in depth. We'll look at the keyboard, the trackpad, we'll do a hardware overview. I'll even show you what kind of apps you can use and what kind of games you can play on here. And yeah, let's get into the review. So when Chromebooks first came out, I really wanted to give Chromebooks a shot, but I heard so much negativity about them that I felt like, you know what, they're probably not worth it. They sound like they're really cheap and like they can't do anything because they're just Windows, they're non-Windows based, and they just didn't sound very appealing to me. Well, in this video, because I'm a laptop reviewer and I reviewed lots of different laptops, like the Surface, like HP laptops, Dell, Alienware, I've even reviewed like the MacBooks, for instance, and now I'm reviewing Chromebooks. So if you guys have any questions about laptops, I would love to answer them for you guys. So do leave a comment down below. We're also going to see how well the Chromebook stacks up against other laptops in its category and how well it does against some premium based laptops, some laptops that are about the same price or a little bit higher range. We'll also compare it to the MacBook and the Surface as well. Alright, here we have got the box, nothing particularly special here. Flip it. And we got some specifications on the side. Got the 2 gig RAM, 16 gigabyte storage, Celeron processor. Not the fastest computer in the block, but it is pretty optimized with the Chrome OS. Pop this baby open. Alright, we got some charging cords. It's basically a white charging cord. Feels pretty meh, nothing special about it, but at least it gets the job done. Then we have the second half that you can connect. Pop the laptop open, take off the sides, and there it is. Doesn't look half bad for a $170 laptop. Comes with a decent selection of ports. We got HDMI, USB 3.0, SD card slot, 3.5mm headphone jack, and USB 2.0 and a lock. Pop this thing open and it has about 160 degree open. Some LED indicators. And then there you go, the trackpad and the keyboard. I gotta tell you, the trackpad's pretty good. It's got 2-finger scroll, which is quite nice. Here we're testing the durability of the hinge, and the hinge is very sturdy. I didn't have any issues with the hinge at all. The Acer logo looks really nice. It's got these horizontal like ridges and it's like this metallic design. I think it looks pretty sweet. And then we have the Chrome logo on the top left. Rotate this thing around and we see that the edges are clipped off. Gives you more of a dexterous handling around the edges. Quite nice. On the back we got a ridiculous amount of screws. 16 in total, counting. Got 2 speakers here. They're actually really, really loud, but they don't sound very clear. Standard Phillips screwdriver can remove these screws here. Got 2 rubber feet on the top and 2 rubber feet on the bottom. Model number and warranty information at the top there. I've seen a lot of cheap laptops. Either they don't have a good selection of ports, or they have a horrible keyboard, or they have a horrible trackpad. It just so happens that you get enough ports on this laptop with a good combination of good keys and a good combination of a trackpad. Now the only thing I really wish that they improved was they made the trackpad a little bit taller and also wider. Other than that though, the keyboard itself doesn't feel too mushy and feels fairly premium for this price point. Now what I would like them to do is to actually make a metallic version of this, maybe make it a little bit thinner and give it a fan, because this particular model doesn't use a fan as passive cooling. I would want them to do this because I want to get a little bit more horsepower out of this machine. Here you can see the bezels. They're pretty thick and ugly. I really wish they would have taken this 11-inch screen, made it into a 13-inch screen, because based on the size of that front panel there, there's enough room to fit a 13-inch screen. Alright, so take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to open it up, and it boots up right away. I can scroll up and down and move around. It's actually quicker than a Windows-based laptop. It's quite impressive what kind of speed you're getting. It almost feels like you're using a MacBook in terms of speed, or like some kind of really fast Ultrabook. It's really impressive. So because Chromebooks run on fairly weak hardware like Intel Celeron processors, Intel Pentium, or even ARM-based processors like the ones you'd find in your phone, or pretty slow, weak tablets, these devices have exceptional battery life, which is great because you can get anywhere from, on the low end, 8 hours to 18 hours of battery life, which to me blows my mind because most conventional Windows laptops will get around 4 hours of battery life, even though they advertise around 8 hours of battery life. I also wanted to let you guys know that if you will be having any questions at all during the video, I will be replying to all questions because I do really care about you guys and I do really want to help you find that perfect laptop deal. So don't hesitate to comment down below because I will be replying to all the comments. Now let's talk about viruses. Because everything on most Chromebooks is installed on a ROM chip, that means that viruses can't really get in and break the computer. And that's because ROM stands for read-only memory. And what that means is you can't really write to it, and most viruses just can't access it. So in terms of it being safe and secure, Chromebooks are probably one of the best for that because of how they're designed. They're very locked away, so you can't really get into them. Hackers just can't get in, which is great, I think. Going with a Chromebook laptop will enable you to have free document typing and editing applications like Word. It won't be Word, but it'll be a modified version of Docs, which can export to Word and export to all kinds of different typing applications. So you'll get Docs, you'll get Excel, you'll get PowerPoint. All these applications that you would normally use for school come free with the Chromebook. And that's because it's all designed to be integrated into the cloud. The neat thing about it is, let's say you go to a different computer or your Chromebook breaks down, you can actually access most of your Chromebook apps basically on a different computer, because if it uses cloud, you just log into a different computer, install Chrome, and all of a sudden, because everything's linked to your Gmail, you can just access it. So how are all these Chrome services managed? Well, they're managed through a Gmail account. So if you've ever had an Android phone where it syncs your contacts and it gives you email, well, Gmail acts as like the central hub, the central identity for your Chromebook, and it'll basically link all your apps. There's a thing called Google Drive, which you also get. You get about 100 gigabytes of free storage. Google Drive allows you to store anything you want online, about 100 gigabytes free, which is pretty good. And you could always up it more to like a terabyte if you really want. There's Play Music, which allows you to, download music to your computer or just stream it online. There's so many useful apps through the Google Services sphere that the Chromebook just starts to sound like such a good product because it's so quick. All right, now here's something you can consider. You can either take this $170 model and bump it up to the $300 model and get touch capabilities, slightly stronger processor, and a few other nice bells and whistles like from 16 gigabyte to 32 gigabyte solid state drive. Or for the same price of $300, you can get yourself a used Surface Pro 2, and it'll have 128 gigabytes of storage and a powerful i5 processor. It's going to have really nice touch. It'll be substantially better than any computer you can buy right now for the price. So that's another thing to consider. If you're thinking that maybe Chromebooks aren't for you, spend around the same amount of money and get yourself something used from the used market from like Amazon or eBay. And I'll have links to the Surface Pro 2 as well so you can check them out. But once you go above the $200 mark, I feel like Chromebooks just really aren't worth it. So take a look at the used market to see what you can find, because this is a pretty sweet machine. All right, so where exactly does the Chromebook fit in in the laptop spectrum in terms of performance? Well, the weakest computer we're going to have here definitely is going to be the Chromebook. You know, it doesn't have the most powerful specs, and it's not the fastest, although it is a lot faster than $200, $300, and almost $400 laptops. So in terms of price, the Chromebook is definitely going to be the one you want to pick. If you're looking to save the most amount of money, the Chromebook is definitely the option that you want to pick. And that's because they generally run from around $150 to $200, and on the high end around $300. But if you're looking for something that has a little bit more performance, you could consider getting something like this Toshiba here for around $400, $450, and that will allow you to do, you know, basic video editing and basic computational tasks that are a little bit more harder to compute on your computer. So if you're wondering what I'm referring to, I'm talking about like 3D modeling and rendering, or creating music. For something like that, you'll need to spend around $400 to $500, and getting something like this Toshiba will go a long way, because this could have an i3 or an i5 processor, which will blow the Intel Pentium or Celeron out of the water. While the Intel Celeron processor is good, and while it can do a lot of tasks, it's only particularly good within the Chrome OS. In most cases, if you buy an Intel or Celeron based laptop that's running Windows, it's going to run really poorly. So never buy an Intel Celeron or Intel Pentium in other Windows-based laptops. Only get it in the Chromebook, because it'll actually be fairly fast. But again, if you want something faster, consider the Toshiba. If you want something even faster than that, you can consider to get something like the Surface Pro 2 that we have over here. It's going to run you around $500, $600, $700. Refurbished or used around there. You can even buy them new for around $600, $700. And then if you want the top of the line performance, look no further than the MacBook, which has the most balanced computing experience with one of the best screens, keyboards, trackpads, and speakers. Now, if you're a developer and you need more control over your Chromebook, there is a developer mode that you can enable that allows you to install either Linux or Windows. And the first Chromebooks that came out only ran on ARM processors. Now that we have the Intel x86 processors, we can actually install Windows on there if you decide to do so. However, because Chrome is optimized using Google's Chrome OS service, the software is very optimized for the weak hardware. So modifying a Chromebook would actually be not in your best interest, because now you're not getting the efficiency and the speed that you once had with Chrome OS and built in natively. Hey, thanks guys for watching. I wanted to let you know that if you enjoyed this particular type of video, then don't hesitate to leave a comment down below, because I will be replying to everybody's comments. And also, I wanted to encourage you to press the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel, because if you're like me, you like technology and you want to know more about it, just subscribe, take a look around, and see what other kind of videos you may like. If the type of video that you're looking for isn't on the channel, just shoot me a message or comment on one of my videos, and let's see if we can get that video created for you. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers. Also, hey, if you are interested in Ultrabooks, MacBooks, ZenBooks, you know, Dell laptops or HP laptops, I've reviewed lots of different laptops. So have a look around on the channel and see if you can find a video that you actually like. Alright, take care. So by far my favorite feature is the instant on technology that you get with the Chromebooks. As soon as you open up the shell, it's powered on, and you can basically surf the internet and launch the applications. A lot of computers under the $500 range tend to not have instant on technology, which is super annoying, because when you open up the shell, you have to wait for it to boot. It takes like a good 15, maybe sometimes 10 to 5 seconds. With instant on technology, it's on as soon as you open up the shell. We're scrolling around, and scrolling is actually really fluid. I was pretty impressed. Now, the thing that I noticed about the Chromebooks is there is an occasional hiccup in performance that you get, and I'm thinking it has something to do with my 2GB model. So when I bought this model, it had 2GB of RAM as opposed to having 4. So occasionally, about 50% of the time when I type something in or search for it, it freezes up and lags, which really sucks. So if you can avoid the 2 GB model, avoid it at all costs, because even basic things like browsing that this machine was designed for, it will start to lag, and that lag will start to get annoying. And some websites, like the one I have opened here in this particular tab, load so slowly, and it was so choppy I literally had to wait 5 minutes for it to load. More simple websites that are more properly programmed, like Reddit for instance, open up quickly, the scrolling is smooth, everything's good. But occasionally you'll reach some websites that are very like heavy on the system, and that could be like the Wall Street Journal, it could be like the Verge, which would be a really hard website to run. It really just depends on which websites you're running on. It can get really laggy, which really sucks. Alright, so here we are at the Google Play Store. In this store, you can buy apps, you can rent movies, watch TV shows, they have a music library, books, all kinds of entertainment. You can even purchase different devices built by Google, like Android smartphones and different laptops, and most likely desktops in the future. Something that's really funny is that even the trailer lags. It froze 3 times during the trailer, and it was just not buffering fast enough. If you skip to the section that shows the speed test, I'm literally getting only I think 2 megabits download and 8 megabits upload, which is really odd because all my other devices actually get around 80 megabits upload and download both ways. I think the wireless chip inside here is just really slow, which really sucks. Again, opt for the more expensive $300 model if you're going to get a Chromebook. But like I was saying earlier, if you're planning on doing that, you might as well just buy a Surface Pro 2, because it's going to run substantially better than a Chromebook. But if you don't have the ability to wait, and if you don't have the ability to explore used markets, because the computer used markets online like Amazon, eBay, are some of the best places to get deals as opposed to going to a store. But if you have to go to a store and you only have $300, definitely consider the Chromebooks, but just make sure you get the 4 GB version and something with maybe a little bit stronger processor. If you can, try to get the quad-core processor as opposed to the dual-core, because it'll be a lot slower. Alright, here we're taking a look at the word processing. I've actually opened up a couple documents from my Google Drive. So like I talked about earlier, Google Drive is just basically a drive that you can drop files in that's cloud storage. So here you can see all my assignments from 2012. I was studying political science, and here I have a new document open. Let's take a look and see what it's like. So the cool thing is, as soon as you start typing, every letter you type gets saved. It takes about 2 seconds. There's like a 2-second delay, but if you look here, it says all changes saved in Drive. So watch as I start typing a sentence, and it's just going to turn on and it's going to say saving. Let's see, hello, testing the saving function on this to show you how it saves. So long gone are the days of you losing all your work, because it completely saves everything as you type. It's pretty freaking sweet, actually. And Google Drive and Google Docs has been around for, I think, close to 5 years now, maybe even more. Very impressive stuff. Not a lot of people know about it. And something like this is substantially better than getting a Windows laptop, because it's not gonna come with all these preloaded free apps. However, you could, in theory, use Google Docs and Google Drive on any computer. At least with a Chromebook, everything is built to run around Google services, so it's a little bit more organized. All right, here we're opening up Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is supposed to be kind of like an Excel version / like a version for like creating charts, pie charts, that kind of thing, graphs. And also, I think it's designed for like accounting. I mean, you can technically program it to do whatever you want, but here's basically a document that is a sample that shows all the things you can do. It's pretty complex, actually. Only downside is a document this complex is actually very, very laggy to scroll in. Scrolling up and down creates like this really weird choppy effect. So on one hand, I'm like really impressed with the Chromebook, but on the other, it's like half of a device. You know, you buy it and there are some things just missing from it, and the performance is good about half of the time, and the other half it's just really choppy and glitchy. Here we have PowerPoints open. Google calls it slides. Here's a childhood obesity PowerPoint that I made. It's kind of funny looking. Another thing I found that was kind of annoying was how slow Google Maps was. So Google Maps was running probably about as good as a $300 to $400 Windows laptop. However, to me it still felt fairly slow. I don't understand why it's so well optimized on our phones, but it can't be optimized, on a laptop. It would make a lot more sense if they could just make it more optimized. The thing is, they're using these Intel processors that were never designed to work with these apps. I guess the web app, on the other hand, should work just fine, but once they bring Android apps to this Chromebook, you should be able to run the apps a lot smoother. Right now, there's only about 4 Chromebooks that are supported, and this particular Acer Chromebook won't be supported until 2017, so it's going to be some time before they add Android apps. Here you can see me using the Street View. Again, kind of laggy and choppy, but at least it works. Here's another pretty awesome app. It's called Google Play Music. Essentially, it's how you're going to manage all your music services. You can download any song you want that you have in your library at any time. You can upload an infinite amount of songs to your library, which is pretty freaking awesome. And you can create these custom stations that are, it's like Pandora, but it's like a more interactive version of Pandora, where you can see 10 songs ahead and you can skip quite a bit of songs before you get to whichever one you want to get to. It's a very interactive experience and I like it a lot. So when searching for productivity apps like video editing and photo editing, I was actually pretty surprised. Quite a bit of video editing apps came up along with photo editing apps. One in particular was actually a Photoshop application that you would normally not be able to run on such a weak machine, but what it does is it takes the file that you're working with in Photoshop and uploads it to a server that computes all the data. So you're essentially like streaming a computed file from another computer that's doing the work for you. It's kind of a neat concept. So in theory, gaming on the Chromebooks is supposed to be pretty good. On the actual Chrome OS, in practice, the gaming is really, really bad. There's not a lot of games that are supported, and most games just don't run right. However, as soon as they bring in Android support, we should be able to play pretty much any game you want, like Minecraft Pocket Edition, GTA San Andreas should run pretty good. It really just depends on when they bring this Android support over. Because right now, even buffering a video takes an excruciating long time sometimes. I don't know why it happens. Like you can see, it's hardly even loading. It'll freeze up here in a little bit. They do have popular titles like Cut the Rope and a few others, but most of these games I feel are just, they're too simple for me. I need something a little more complex. One thing to note though, you have the ability to download Windows if you want, and you could also install Linux, and you can even dual boot into Android. So, but the problem with that is it takes a lot of tinkering. So me personally, I don't want to have to tinker with my device, but if you are a power user and you know how to do these types of things, or at least you're willing to embark on the journey, you can get a lot of money out of your Chromebook, but you're going to have to fiddle with it to make it work. But that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a Chromebook. Most people who get one are probably not going to do that. In the first speed test we did, we only had about 3 megabits download and about 7 to 8 megabits upload. I don't know why it's so slow. On the second try we got about 7 megabits download and 13 megabits upload. And I think it's just a wireless chip inside the cheaper model. Avoid the $180 model if you can. Spend the extra to get the $300 model. And again, if you have time, just don't get the Chromebook at all. Buy yourself something more like a Surface, like a used computer product, because it'll be substantially more powerful. It'll load things quicker, and you'll have more apps because you'll be in Windows. However, Windows itself is kind of clunky, so as long as you're willing to learn Windows and you're not overwhelmed by it, I think it's probably in your best interest to do that. You also have access to the file viewer. However, because most files are going to be just like web apps, you really don't have a lot to view. So let's go ahead and open this up and take a look. Got some pictures saved. These are actually some backgrounds I downloaded. And yeah, they open up pretty quick. Again, the solid state on here is not half bad. It's just not a lot of storage. Consider getting a micro SD card. You can just pop in the side, maybe like a 128 gigabyte micro SD card. I'll have a link in the bottom description if you guys want to purchase one. So if you open up Search and you type in help, there's a specific app you can launch that's called Get Help. If you open this up, it'll actually show you how to get specific apps that you would normally have on Windows that are now either analogous to Chrome or just apps that will help you do certain tasks like printing, photos, connecting devices, personalization. So if you're new, definitely check out the Get Help app because it's got a lot of useful information on how to basically take advantage of your Chromebook. Hey guys, thank you for watching. If you watched this far, go ahead, push the subscribe button. There's no reason why you shouldn't because you're an enthusiast of tech and you're probably looking to get some kind of laptop. If I haven't answered your question, leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to reply. And do apologize for the video. I wasn't able to get all the things I wanted to put in here. So some of the parts of the video might seem kind of clunky and incomplete, but I did post the video as quickly as possible, so just try to release something as fast as possible so I just don't miss my deadline. But I might be remaking this video or adding a part 2, so if you guys want to see anything in part 2, just definitely let me know in the comment section and I'll get that done for you. Thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.